Building drought resilience is one of our projects that we are trying to demonstrate that nature-based solution to climate change impacts is really working. The project is addressing climate change impacts both in terms of drought and also in terms of floods. Because in Kenya, we are experiencing drought, and in Uganda, the major problem there is about floods.
My grandmother and my grandfather used to tell us stories about their days. They didn't have banks, they didn't have a lot of money, but then they had their wealth in terms of cattle and sheep and goats. Life was quite easy.
How did people used to manage their resources long before Kenya was there? That is 100 years ago. There was no government of the day to take care of food aid. So we asked them, how did you used to manage? They used to have grazing, wet season and dry season grazing. They used to have dry powder milk, their own. They used to dry the meat and put it in the sacks. All that was a coping mechanism.
We have a neighboring tribe. They came in the 80s and raided Lango sub-region and Acholi sub-region, and they took whatever animal that they could get. Remember, this was their source of wealth. I remember a rebel group began, and this insurgency took like 23 years and displaced people in the camps. But in 2008, people started going back home. They had lost everything. The generation that was born in the camp, they didn't have any knowledge. So when they came back from the camp, for them, they just went to the land and did whatever they could do with the land.
Like the Shia nut, if you get and you make with charcoal, you get a lot of money.
Most community members resorted to charcoal burning because this is an activity that they learned when they were in the camps for survival.
When we became independent, the communities tell us that we became uhuru. We became free, independent, and I can do what I want. That has led us to where we are today in terms of resource degradation.
They have forgotten their previous roles as community members. The elders were not respected after that because people wrongly believed in freedom. They took it as everybody can do anything the way he wants.
We used, even before IUCN, there was no fence. We used to have a lot of problems. People used to put the animals by force, and we cannot defend them. We just call the police personnel from Bengal, which is very far from us. So we used to have a hard time.
They needed an intervention. They looked at the parishes that had main wetlands that they pour their water into River Aswa. And that's how we came up with the 6 parishes, and we were calling them hotspots. There's already a government law that if you have land that is next to a wetland, you should leave 30 meters buffer zone where you don't cultivate. We dialogued, we had a lot of meetings with the communities.
They came when all here were flooded. Even inside the wetland was flooded. Then they told us this bad plowing which is making what? Those things to happen.
If we have an alternative to that, will you pull out from the wetland? They were like, yes, we'll do that. Before, in the dry season, there will be no water in the wetland. But last dry season, they had very good amount of water in the wetland and they used it for feeding their animals. They also say that the water is cleaner, which never used to be there. The water used to be very dirty, and there are some fish species that it was not there. There were certain types of butterflies that they were not seeing, and the old people told us that in their time they used to see that kind of butterfly in the wetlands. They're kind of grass that only grows along the wetland. They're coming back. I wouldn't say that he has bounced back fully, but for us to start seeing reasonable results, it took like 1 year.
You have to bring in new ideas that are acceptable to the community. Everything, technology or practice you are introducing has to be scientifically correct and has to be indigenous, customarily also correct. So that has forced us to go back and revive the customary institutions and laws.
So they have made for us a pilot which is very clear. If somebody used by this water by force without consulting us, there's a law which is going to deal with him.
As a result, today we have bylaws on sustainable natural resource management made by the people of where we are working, the communities, and embraced by the government arms. And now we are hoping to take it to the county parliament to be passed.
Community Environmental Conservation Fund came in.
I borrowed the conservation fund, then I bought with the sheep. Then he littered a boy sheep.
It really worked so well.
I sold my rice, then I paid back with the money. My husband is happy, now we are happy.
You can only achieve good future in sustainable management if you dream.
And my wish is that I will work for myself.
I see that in future I will progress.
I see that peace that we never had for over 20 years coming back.
Now the communities have opened their eyes up and they said, what do we do for the future?
My future looks optimistic.
Excellent.
Prosperous.
Bright and green.
Hopeful.
Promising.
Bright.
Natural.
Hopeful.
Resilient. Colorful.
Bright.
Prosperous.
My future looks joyful.
Resilience is all about overcoming challenges. The challenge of climate change, the challenge of drought. Resilience is all about when life becomes extreme, when a extreme change of climate happens. How do you overcome?